Greetings, dear ones. I am the host of the Treasure Is You podcast. Let us aspire to be the greatest forms of physical expression by allowing our presence to guide the steps of our journey through the highways of our mind, the roads of infinite potential, and within the inner sanctum of our heart, knowing that the treasure is you. As you can see, dear ones, I have a lovely guest on the Treasure Is You podcast, and I would first like to give a brief description of her. For the last 18 years, she has been a peak performance coach and a life strategist. She has coached thousands of high performance people from all walks of life and various parts of the world have achieved success and the highest level of fulfillment. Out of the top 120 coaches on the planet, Jessie ranked number 1 or top 3 in every measurable category. While working with the top company in the world, Jessie is fueled by a passionate love for humanity and a burning desire to end suffering. She is driven to discover the truth of the client's deepest potential and to unlock the limitless opportunities that leave others in the dark ages, bringing all levels of mindset, emotional intelligence, energy, and strategy with an authentic, client-driven approach. Jessie's teachings will help you transform your life from pain or trauma into purpose and passion, what Jessie refers to as fierce grace. So I welcome you, Jessie Torres, to the Treasure Is You podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Sonia. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. And it is an honor to have you. And first, I would like to just say that I am very happy that you are gracing us with your presence and that you are helping people all around the world. You have gone through, in your story, pain. You were very courageous and you have a lot of resilience. And I want the viewers to listen to whatever you would like to share so you can start wherever you want, Jessie.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
I think, to start, just to kind of explain how I got here, because I think part of my outcome is to share the story, not because I want to share the story of what happened, but because I want to help bring relevance to everyone out there who's experienced different things in their lives. I know that if you're alive today, that you have gone through your pain moments. You've cried yourself to sleep. You've had moments where you doubted yourself. You've had moments where you were afraid. And part of my journey has been going through a tumultuous upbringing all the way through abusive marriage, the murder of my brother, and then my little brother 30 years later, and childhood abuse with my father. It's coming through all of that. It's kind of like that lotus flower, just being able to come through the mud and come out on top. But it wasn't easy. It was going through a journey of discovering, of understanding, when I reached a point of apathy, where life was not worth living, where I only live because I wasn't willing to take my own life because of my children. And so I didn't want to do that to them. But every day I was willing that somebody blow the red light and be done. I wanted to be done with this life. I didn't see a way out of my marriage other than death. That was the only way, the way I was raised, what my beliefs were, that was it. And so from that state of apathy, it was an act of kindness that actually woke me up. I didn't know to call it kindness at the time, but the people that treated me the way they did, they sparked something in me. It's like that short circuit moment. Short circuited my brain. Whatever little tiny flicker was left inside me got fueled and sparked. And I didn't understand it. All I knew is I don't know what this feeling is, but if this feeling's available, then life is worth living. And that alone gave me the courage to get out of my situation. And from there, it wasn't easy. It's like from there, it's like it began a new challenge of me being 38 years old now, more than 20 years ago. It's like, oh my God, who am I? Who am I? What do I believe? What's my favorite food? What's my favorite color? I don't know anything. But I had two 17-year-olds, I have twins, and a 15-year-old. And we were literally turned upside down in every way a family could be. And from that moment, created an insatiable hunger to understand how I had gotten there, how my father did what he did, why my mom ignored it, why my husband did what he did, and why I allowed it. And I started seeking. I started trying to understand human beings. I went through my own therapy. I read books. I went to seminars. I did whatever it took. What I've realized and what I've learned throughout the process of all of this, especially for high achievers or high performers, but truly all of us,
Right.
is that there's three things that we don't know to know, right? And number one is undiagnosed trauma. Okay. Number two is unacknowledged trauma. And number three is unresolved. Okay. Trauma. And when we talk about trauma, people think, oh, it's a rape or a big, huge, and yes, of course it is. However, trauma, from the perspective of what I've learned, is whatever the child made meaning of in the moment of the experience.
Right.
Right. So you can take a 5-year-old who's in the grocery store with mom,
Right.
playing with toys. Mom goes to the end of the aisle to grab something. She can see him, but he can't see her. He lifts up his head and screams, Mom. She's like, I'm right there, 30 seconds. But for him, his nervous system anchored abandonment. I could be left behind. I could, now when mom leaves for the store, he's a little bit more clingy. He's upset. He doesn't want her out of his sight. Right now he's 35 and he doesn't know why he can't keep a girlfriend. Right? He's jealous. He's insecure. He's controlling. And he doesn't know that it's tied back to that moment. There's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong happened, right? From the aspects of mom wasn't a bad mom. It was all just the human experience in that moment. And so I started to realize more and more as I had clients. I had a client that was, by virtue of her Facebook page and everything that she portrayed, was on top of the world. She'd reached her $5 million a year revenue stream. She had a husband and 2 boys, and her husband was ready to leave her. Why? Because she was not present with the family. She was very physically fit, and on paper, everything looked beautiful.
Right.
But inside, she was massively depressed. And what happened is she was chasing her worthiness on her achievement, so much so that she was in comparison. She was comparing herself to her sister. She was comparing herself to every other woman in the business. And she was comparing herself to herself last year.
Wow.
All this because somebody, when she was 10 years old, a friend of the family's, who wasn't even part of the family, said to her, you'll never be as good as your sister. And until we started to unpack what was going on, what was the limitation, why was she struggling, were we able to find that invisible thread? Wow. And so we don't know to know, right? But in my journey of coming from that moment of wanting to die, I had to, now that I chose life, what kind of life do I want to have? I don't even know who I am, And so from that, having that insatiable hunger, and then having all this training and, even working with shamans and all kinds of stuff, nothing has taught me more than my own journey. Right. And my own journey of darkness. And I believe my mission is to bring light into the darkest moments. And I believe that we can alchemize our pain and turn it into power.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I'm committed to doing.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, I align with everything you just said, but I want to backtrack because you said something that is so true across the board for many people. You said that this lady, somebody said that she wasn't going to be or like better than her sister, right? And because of that statement, can you just imagine that that person had so much power. And I don't know how old she was when they said that.
10. She was 10.
10. Yes. So you see how people can hold on to that statement and live their life that way.
Very
And a
much.
lot of, like you said, and I'm realizing this because I know some people in my family that have shared with me some things, and then I have to, like, I shake my head and I'm like, wow, like you're really holding on to that statement that somebody said to you 60 years ago. And
Right.
guess what? They are.
Yeah.
They are living their life that way, but they don't know it either until
That's
they
right.
get some counseling.
Exactly. Or yeah, or they come to a coach, or they're recognizing that they've met some sort of ceiling on what they want to do. Like there's limitation now. Like won't go for the promotion because maybe they don't have the confidence, or they won't go to the next level of revenue, or they won't have that uncomfortable conversation, or whatever it is. They don't know to honor themselves. They can't, because there's this thread here that's stopped. It's a barrier, and they don't know to know. So that's the undiagnosed trauma. The
Right.
unacknowledged trauma are, let's just say somebody has sexual abuse. So they know that, right? Like that was my experience and with my father. So I know that. And so, okay, so I've forgiven my father. I'm good now. Because that's the big trauma, right?
Right.
But the unacknowledged trauma is the unacknowledged trauma that goes underneath all of that. Right. So I know I need to come to forgiveness. I know I understand I need to find my confidence, blah, blah, blah. But underneath that is, ooh, I'm gross. I'm filthy now. I'm damaged goods. I don't know to know those, right? So we deal with the big trauma, but we don't acknowledge all the other mini traumas that go with the behavior that
Attached
cause
to
that
it.
big trauma.
Right.
Exactly. Right. And so we think we solved it. Oh no, I forgave my dad. I'm good. I'm good. That's not it. Right. It's kind of like my ex-husband. When we met, I was 18, he was 21. Okay. And he came from a very abusive alcoholic mother. She was brutal, very abusive, would beat his sisters unconscious, that kind of, right? And I came from the abuse with my father. So we talked about it, right? We knew it, and we're just like, okay. So he said, my kids will never see me drunk. And I said, my kids will never be molested. And we got married and thought we fixed it, right? Because that's what we know to know. We had no idea the emotional trauma that we were bringing to that marriage. And so what happened is we built a marriage on a foundation of wound, right? And so it was very tumultuous and very abusive and damaging. But again, we didn't know to know, right? And then that third one is unresolved. So now we have an understanding, but it's not resolved. We haven't cleared it, right? And for so many, especially now when personal development is out there so much more, we have a cognitive understanding. We have an emotional, okay, I need to shift my emotions. We don't recognize also that our body remembers.
Yes.
Our body records. And so there's deep levels of healing that needs to happen. And I think that the more we are out there in information highway and we buy the books and we go to the seminars, we are literally knowing our way out of healing.
Right.
And so we're intellectualizing something that really needs to be looked at. So what it happens is it's kind of like buying new cutting edge software. You're like, I'm going to do my online business. I want cutting edge software, the fastest internet. I'm going to pay double. Okay. So you get the fastest internet, but you haven't upgraded the operating system. Right. So now you have this fast internet and you're glitching and you got the spinning wheel of death. Right. And it's like when you install new software on an old operating system and you haven't upgraded the program, you're going to glitch.
Yes.
Right. And that's going to freeze. And so the big problem with that is that what happens is it invites a deeper level of shame because, well, now I went to the seminars, I read the books, I know what to do. Why am I still stuck? Why am I still in suffering? And so there must be something wrong with me. Right. And so it's not that something's wrong with you. It's that we haven't upgraded the program. We have to do the healing. You can't just bypass it with positive affirmations. It doesn't work that way. It'll get you through. But ultimately, this will keep on barking. It'll keep on barking. It's like that little kid that's kind of nagging, mommy, 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 mommy. Like,
Yeah.
look at me, look at me, look at me, look at, right? And it'll show up. And your abuse could have been with your father, and then it shows up in a boyfriend, or it shows up in a boss, or it shows up in a female version of your father. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just keeps coming until you get the lesson.
That's very true. That's very true. Wow. I mean, you said a lot, and a lot what you said. I can resonate with that because I went through an abusive relationship as well, like a marriage. It wasn't physical, it was more mental. It was more verbal.
Mm-hmm.
And because like you said, you and your ex, you both brought these traumas to the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with me. It's like we brought these traumas. We had both abusive fathers, so we both could relate to that.
Right.
And yeah, so then when we came together, and I was more of a very assertive communicator, and he was the opposite. He was, what word? It's like, I'm drawing a blank right now. If I'm assertive,
Passive. Passive.
yes, he was passive. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yes, and it was like the roles was
Mm-hmm.
opposite. It was like I was the masculine, assertive person, and he
Mm.
was the feminine, passive. This is how it was. And I see that now. And I did see it after we got a divorce. And we're good friends now, by the
Yeah.
way.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, I saw that in our marriage, and for me, it was a huge eye opener. It helped me just to learn more about who I was at that time,
Right.
and yeah, of 20 years of like healing myself, and like right now, I have a lot of joy in my life, and of course, I'm still healing other things that may come up, but
Right.
I'm nowhere near where I was because I have learned how to learn these parts of myself that were in the darkness, that was afraid, that was shameful, that was insecure,
Right.
right? That didn't want to speak. I was able to speak to those parts of myself. It's liberating. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I did a lot of healing. And as I said, I'm still healing because I feel like as long as we are living this life, we are always constantly going to heal parts of ourselves. It just depends what degree it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but thank you for sharing that because, yeah, I aligned and I went through many painful moments, but we are great friends now. And I'm very grateful. I really am. I'm grateful for my marriage and I'm grateful for my divorce because I learned a lot
Yeah.
about myself and him. And the whole thing I learned, he was my best teacher. And I told him that
Mm-hmm.
you were one of my best teachers because you showed me who I was and who I wasn't when I didn't speak up. So again, thank you.
Well, you bring up some good points in regards to people being our teachers. I firmly believe that. And, my husband was definitely one of my greatest teachers. My mother continues to be one of my greatest teachers. And I really see it all like that. I see that, you know, everybody signed up, even my brothers, the loss of my brothers,
Yeah,
two very different stories, two very different people, 30
right.
years apart, from the aspect of my essence and my journey. When I lost my little brother, a year and a half ago, I, I'm like, no, like I already checked that box. My older brother was killed, like, no, that doesn't happen twice. Right.
Right.
And I was in that argument with reality, and it's just like, no, God, you got it wrong. You messed up on this one, but ultimately I know just because of the work that I've done and I believe that again my journey is here to bring light into the darkest moments and alchemize our pain. And so in the deepest, darkest moments of my grief, I have what I call the cosmic seat. It was kind of what you were describing, when you're able to kind of like be grateful, right, for your marriage or divorce. You have the cosmic seat is kind of being on the outside looking in at Sonia's life. right? You're like seeing, oh, there's her journey. Oh, there's where she made it mean that she wasn't enough, or there, and you're able to be witness to your own journey.
Right.
And so in the deepest moments of my sorrow, I was able to connect with, as I watched myself in that pain, I was able to recognize that the depth of my grief was only equivalent to the depth of my love. And I was able to see his daughters who, had never met before. They're in their 20s. He has 9 children altogether, acted like they were raised together with how much love they gave to each other at the loss of their father. That was beautiful. My family showing up like never before, people posting on my brother's Instagram about a difference he made in their lives. And so I was able to see those slivers of light all around me as I'm, crying, and feeling and saying, no, like this shouldn't have happened. And so, to your point, it is a journey and it is a constant. Like I tell clients, I'm like, hey, mindset, well, it's forever. So just saying, right? I did not expect that uppercut in life, right? Like I have done a lot of work and that still took my breath away. You know what I mean? So it is a constant healing and a constant journey. And for me, I just prayed and I'm just like, okay, God, if both my brothers are to be taken from me, then what do you want with me?
Right.
What do I do? And it deepened my conviction to help serve people out of pain. I want to be able to help you come out of suffering or limitation. Maybe you're not suffering, but there's another level for you. You're not going after. Right. You've kind of stagnated in your journey, right? Or maybe you are in suffering and you don't know why. You don't feel happy, right? You ask people that question. It's the funniest thing. I started this little test. I was just like asking people, are you happy? And they'd stop and they'd be like, well, I'm not unhappy. Like they really couldn't connect to what does it mean to be happy?
Wow.
You know what I mean? And or the other answer I would get is, well, no, I'll be happy when I buy my house. I'll be happy when I get the job or whatever. I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting. So it isn't that you can choose to be happy. It's you're happy when an outside thing of you happens.
Right.
That's interesting. What if it wasn't that way? What if you could actually choose joy in the process of going after your goals?
Exactly.
But we don't know to know.
Right.
We start to tie that in together. So my outcome is to turn our traumas, our moments of pain, and turn them around into power so that we're able to activate our businesses. We can become entrepreneurs, or we can go for the promotion, or we can start to have the relationship of our dreams. Because I believe that if we're on earth right now, why don't we freaking suck the juice out of life? Right? Why don't we start to enjoy ourselves? Why not? Why not you go first class?
That's right.
Right? Oh, why don't you go first class? Why don't you, instead of getting the room, you get the suite? Why not?
Yes.
You can have it all. There is no limitation to the human being, only the belief there is one.
Wow. I just want to say, you just said something, because my last major trip was Egypt, and it was right when COVID was starting. And I said to myself, after that flight, I am flying first class all the time. I said that.
Good.
Like when you said that, I resonate with what you just said, because I said, I need to be flying first class. I'm not going to be in that little tiny seat like a sardine for 10 hours. I don't know how many hours we were there. And I literally said that.
That's
right. Like you said, why don't we, you said, suck the juice out of life? That's right. Why don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've conditioned ourselves to live a life of mediocrity.
Right.
Right. And I don't think we're meant to. Right. No. Like earlier, it's like we were talking about belonging. And here's the thing. We all have a sense of belonging. We want to belong. We want to be part of the team. We want to be chosen. We want to be liked. Right.
Yes.
But what if God made you the way you are on purpose, uniquely, beautifully you, and you were not meant to blend? You were not meant to blend. You were meant to be your own kind of crazy, your own kind of silly, moody, passionate, up, down, crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And especially for women, we are the freaking ocean.
Yes.
We're calm, we're serene, we're beautiful bliss, and we're thunderous, and we're stormy, and we're moving. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the beauty of being a woman.
Yes.
right? But
Hmm.
again, ooh, you're a bit much.
Yeah.
Tone it down. Gosh, you talk too much.
Right.
Maybe it's like always is too muchness. But what we
Mhm.
don't realize is that our partners actually love it.
That's
Because if everything was in a compartment and everything was in a box, it would be flippin' boring and we would be picking fights just to have variety,
yes.
right?
Yeah, you're right.
So at the end of the day, it's magnificent that we can be all of our crazy. I
Yeah.
always use Prince as an example because that guy, he's one of the only people I know that can walk out on a G string in the middle of a stage and freaking rock it. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
And everybody's going crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Why do we love that? We love it because it speaks to the soul, right? It's not our eyes and our ears. It speaks to something deep within us, maybe something we've abandoned.
Right.
Maybe that part of us is too afraid to be our own kind of crazy,
Right.
right? But when you
Mhm.
see somebody else do it, you're just like, oh my God, yes, that. I'm going to cheer
Exactly.
you on, but I'm going to stay in my fear, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, why don't we all freaking be our unapologetic selves?
Yes. Yes. I agree with you 100% on that.
I
Yes.
believe that that is the leaders of tomorrow. The leaders of tomorrow are the most authentic, the most aligned, and the most congruent.
Yes.
Because I think that we're all tired of being sold to. I think we're all tired. We have fake news going on.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's so much going on out there that we crave authenticity. But
Yes.
what happens is we sabotage. We sabotage ourselves when our
Mhm.
edges get met. Right? We
Mhm.
come to that edge of our comfort, and then we retract, and we're just like, you know what? That's enough.
Right.
I don't need more. It's okay. This is good enough. Right. But
Right.
there's an inner calling. There's something that's knocking on your heart and it's
Yeah.
saying you're meant for more. You're meant for
Mhm.
greatness. And I promise, yes, there will be haters. They'll be like, oh my God, a G string. Oh my God, he's not, oh my God, get him off the stage. Right. But those aren't your people.
Right.
And in
Yeah.
a world of 8 billion, I think there's plenty.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it's not that everybody came out and became Prince, but they loved what he represented, which was the freedom to be him
Yes.
and rock it.
That's
Right.
right.
And I think that we all deserve that and stop our sabotaging and stopping ourselves or limiting ourselves because
Right.
we have, again, unprocessed trauma that we don't even know about. Right. It's just like,
Right.
no, I don't want to do that. What will my parents think? Or, my dad said I'll never amount to anything. So I can't be a musician. I have to be an engineer.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we're
Yeah.
denying a part of ourselves that is honestly killing our spirit.
Yeah. That's a big one you just said. That's a major one for like the whole collective. I
Mhm.
can't be a musician. I have to be the engineer or I have to be the doctor, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. That's
Shove that
amazing.
dream away because,
Yeah.
and what
So
you don't realize is that it's probably that your father gave up on his dream and doesn't want you to, go after it. And it's not malicious. It's just that they don't know how to experience someone that goes after their dream because they gave up on theirs. Right.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Very
so,
true.
and that happens a lot with family. It happens a lot with friends. And here's the thing, the hard facts are that if you're going to upgrade your life, if you're going to go after your dream, the big audacious dream, not the goals on the calendar, but the big audacious dream, that the one that's way over there,
Yes.
you're going to bring it right here. And when you do, you might have to lose some people.
Yeah.
You might have to set boundaries that say, you
Mhm.
know what? Just like, well, wait a minute. I walk on you all the time. What's up with this boundary? Just like, yeah, that was the old me. This is now the person who is going to go after their dream.
That's right.
And that takes commitment. It makes saying no to sitting around playing video games. It means saying no to, just sitting around, drinking wine all night when I need to be at the gym because I'm going after the best body that I could possibly have at 60 years old. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's like, so some people, it might ruffle some feathers, but trust me when I tell you, inside they're secretly mad respecting you
Oh, yeah.
because they wish they could do that too.
Yes.
So I know it's hard because in our wanting to belong, we don't want to
Mhm.
lose people along the way. But
Mhm.
what if you didn't lose them? What if you were the light that they needed to be guided?
Right.
Right? What
Yeah.
if you were the beacon of hope for them that they were afraid to touch
Right.
because it was easier to be comfortable?
Yes.
right? And our coping
Mhm.
mechanisms, our Netflixing, our overeating, our
Yeah.
wine nights, or, or just let me smother my kids and be in my kids, you know what I mean? And so,
Mhm.
and we're not living. And
Yeah.
I don't want people to lose themselves. I believe that we're ready for a change. We entered the age of Aquarius. We close the door on Pisces. Let's
Mhm.
open our hearts and start living from our truth.
That's right. Exactly. So you be a light, and that light can help if they have the courage for
Mhm.
them to step into more of what they really want to do instead of trying to belong. Yes.
Exactly. Hmm.
You yeah, if you're being that light, like like you just said, some people will have the courage to do that.
Hmm.
And because of that, that's a great thing.
Right.
That is a magnificent thing because now you are being more of your authentic self because you had the courage because you saw this other person, your family, whoever it was, that is the light. And guess what? They're really the light as well, but they just don't know that
Hmm.
because they haven't been taught that. They've been taught, what society says you need to do this, you need to go to college, you need to get married and have these kids. And then when you're stuck in that marriage, okay, I'm referring myself. Then you're stuck in that marriage. You're like, they didn't tell me what would happen when I got married and I'm not happy. Nobody told me about that.
Right.
But yes, but then when you find the courage, and I found the courage to stand in my authentic power by saying no to
Hmm.
whatever it is. And I just kept moving forward. And when I did that, oh my goodness. It was for me, it was very easy after I did it. It was like the resistance of me not doing it was the worst because I was like you said, sabotaging myself.
Right.
Like I
Hmm.
was limiting myself. But when I actually took that first step, it was so easy. And my higher self would be like, see, see how easy that was? Now you've been,
But you had to move beyond the edges of
yes,
what was familiar, right? It's
yes,
not that it's better, it's just familiar. We know it. I know this pain. I
yeah,
don't know that pain. I
yeah.
don't know what's going to be like on the other side. So, but if you push through those edges and you lean in, it's a whole different story. There's a plethora of opportunity that's available on the other side, but it
Mhm.
won't happen unless you take that first step.
Right.
And for me it was hiring a mentor, it was hiring my therapist, it was hiring a coach, it was I know I can't see, I know I have blocks, I know I don't know how to connect the dots to why this is happening to me. I
Mm,
didn't know that I
right,
adopted the belief that I was gross, filthy, and damaged goods and no one would ever love me.
right.
Like, I didn't know that. So the first
Mhm.
person that entered my space that saw what was happening and called it out and loved me anyway, I was like, wow, like you love me with all my dirty? I don't understand. I'm so in love with you. Right?
Right,
Because who else
right,
will love me? But I didn't know. I didn't have conscious awareness around it.
right.
And so I acted from wound. I just acted from like, oh my God, I'm this icky thing, but you love me? All right. Yes, I like you too. Let's go. Right. And
Yeah.
then we got married, and I came out of
Mm,
that from the, moving out of my home because I was still battling my father at
mm,
18. And my mom, her faith, and
mm.
again, I honor everybody's faith, but for
Yeah,
her daughter was not, because I told her I'm moving out, I'm moving in with my boyfriend. She said my daughter will not be married or moved out with a man and live with a man if she's not married. So if you
right.
love him that much, I moved out Friday, I was married. I moved out Monday, I was married Friday.
Mm.
To the point where he was the morning of going, hey, will you marry me? We're two young kids. We're 21 and 18. You know what I mean? But it was that vision that
Right.
what her belief systems around
Exactly.
shame and, her daughter living with a man and not being married. So, and I'm just a young 18-year-old in love. This guy
Right.
loves me with all my filth. Oh my God, this is everything. Right. And,
Yeah.
and boom, and then, a year and a half later no, 2 years later started family. And
Mhm.
so it's like, okay, so now I'm in it. I didn't know any other way. And I think that's the biggest thing I want your audience to know. We don't know to connect the dots. You
Right.
don't know to connect the dots. If there's any part of you that's limited right now or in suffering, or you just know that there's another level for you, or you feel like you lack confidence, or you feel like you lack self-love or worthiness or whatever, and you might not have words for it. I didn't know I was living in shame. I didn't know to label it that way.
Right.
That's why I say whatever limitation you're feeling, or if you're feeling any sense of sadness or frustration, or you're constantly responding with anger and you don't even
Mhm.
you don't know why,
Mhm.
right? Or you're going after that next achievement, and it's never enough. You get the certificate, you throw it in the drawer, you go to the next one, right? And
Mhm.
you're exhausted, you're burnt out, and you're tired, right? And
Mhm.
you don't know why nothing is making you happy. Nothing is having you bring back your smile.
Right.
um you don't know that, and that's why I created those 3 pillars, because I'm like, okay, this is it, this is what's happening. It's like we don't know how to diagnose it,
Right.
we don't know how to acknowledge the deeper ones, the deeper trauma
Mhm.
points, and we don't resolve them. We just move through and we mindset our way out, and we can't do that and not heal, because healing mixed with new mantras or new behaviors will now create a new normal, and that's
Right.
how we have true transformation.
Right. Yes. Like what you just said is it is so beneficial to add that and to be aware. If the family dynamic, as you just said, I don't know exactly, I don't want to say the wrong words, but you said three different, did you say three different?
Pillars:
Okay.
undiagnosed,
Okay.
unacknowledged, and
Yes.
unresolved.
Yes. That is, yeah, that right there, what you just said is very beneficial to know. But a lot of people don't know, like you just said, they're
That's right.
walking around and they're unhappy. They're, addicted to certain things and shouting and screaming because of those three concepts that you just said.
Yeah.
I think that is profound. It really is. And if people connected and chose a mentor to try at least to get the baby steps to learn about if whatever trauma that is undiagnosed or something that you have denied, then yeah, I definitely know that they would see the light because they're making those steps now. They're acknowledging the trauma
Right.
that a lot of them don't even know about. That's the
Exactly.
sad thing. Like you said, you didn't even know. You didn't know a lot until
I didn't have
you
language for it. I couldn't see it.
right,
I wouldn't have labeled it. I was just existing. I was just living my life. Like I didn't know to put those things. When I look back on it now and through the process of my own healing, I'm just
right.
like, oh, wow,
Mm,
I didn't even realize it. And I always say, like, for whatever happened to you out there, I'm deeply sorry for your
mhm.
pain, but it was me that created the meaning about my divinity.
Right,
When my father behaved, I wrote the story that I was gross and filthy. You know what
right.
I mean? I did
Mhm.
that, right?
Yes,
And I believe that based on, society, what people will think. Now
right.
who's going to love me? What man is going to want to, you know what I mean? It's like you
Yes,
start to make all these things because we're human beings. And I
yes.
didn't know, but once I realized that it was me that created that meaning, I can change it. Now,
No.
just putting new words in front of an old belief does not a meaning change, right?
Right.
Like you have to identify with it, you have to embody it, you have to become it, because
Yes.
you're used to being shame. I'm used to being shame. I'm used to being feeling dirty. That's my belief, is I'm ick.
Right.
So just to say I'm not ick is not enough, because
Right.
my body's not buying it. Those are just words, right?
Right.
That's why we need to do the deeper healing. We need to do the deeper work, because what happens is we start to create what I call heart armor. We start to put armor around our hearts to protect ourselves because we've been hurt before.
Mhm.
You're in kindergarten, you go to school, and the kid takes your lunchbox and eats your favorite snack your mom put in there, and you're like, why does he do that? Why doesn't he like me? You know what? and,
Right.
and then the next day you go, you're hugging your lunch pail a little bit tighter, and you're hoping
Yeah.
the kid's not around, right? So right there we start to associate not enoughness.
Yeah,
Why doesn't he
exactly.
like me? Why, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we're not teaching our children compassion and
Mhm.
understanding, right? When bullies are there, my hunch is every bully has had a freaking bullied life, right? They're going through their own pain and their own trauma. Doesn't make their actions right,
Right.
but at least we can come at it with compassion and understanding, and not feel victimized, right? It's just like, "Ooh, I'm a victim now." It's just like, "Well, yeah, that happened and it shouldn't have that, that's not okay." However, what if it was as a consequence of their deeper pain?
Mm.
And now we don't walk around with that. We realize it's not us, right?
Right.
It might be something that they're going through. And I say that all the way to adults, like, when people treat you unkind or they come at you or they're haters or they say something mean,
Mm-hmm.
just know that that's a reflection of their pain, not your truth,
Right.
unless you own it.
That's very true. That's very true. So I want to ask you next, those 3 concepts, are they from your Fierce Grace method?
Yes,
Okay. Can you explain a little bit about that?
absolutely.
And yes, because I want people to realize, because a lot of them are unaware of a lot of these things that we're speaking of.
Absolutely. Fierce Grace is my 20 plus years of experience in a 12-week program.
Mhm.
And it's 10 weeks of modules and training and 2 weeks of integration. Because it's not just enough to know the information. You actually
Mm.
have to integrate and create the new normal, right? We need to
Right.
now own this new behavior. My outcome is to help you see the unseen so you never unsee it,
Right.
right? Because once you start to see the other side of the story of your journey, right? For me, I used to build traps to warn me when my father was coming into my room as a little girl. Now, it didn't necessarily stop him, but it made me feel better. And I can say that is really horrible that a little girl has to build traps, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mm.
that's true. But what I see is a very resourceful, very creative, very courageous little girl, because that is also true.
Right.
Right. So the outcome of Fierce Grace is to help us recognize what is the untold story. What is the other part that we are not taught to seek? Because if we don't look for the gift in our pain, right? If we don't look for the gift, we will only remember the pain.
Right.
And for some of you, I know that, if you've been raped or you've had a massive trauma, for me to tell you to find the gift, I know seems hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you, God doesn't waste the pain. We do if we choose to. Okay. So there is another story. It wasn't okay what happened to me, but I can choose to live in the part that hurts me and makes me suffer, or I can choose to see the beautiful little girl that was creative and resourceful, because both are available. And so Fierce Grace, it's honestly, it's the dynamic of the polar opposites, right? It's the masculine feminine. You were speaking of masculine feminine before. Why do we get out of balance? Why? Because as women, we're constantly assessing safety. When you shared that story earlier and you said you were in your masculine, the question in my head was, when did you first lose safety? Right? Because the reason a true feminine goes into masculine is because she's got to take care. I got to guard. I
Mm-hmm.
was in my feminine. I was soft and I got
Mm-hmm.
trampled on.
Mm-hmm.
Never again. I'll walk around like this.
Yeah.
You're going to come at me. I'm going to come at you. Right. But this isn't our core. And so we're
Right.
out of balance. Right. And what we want to be is safe enough to be our true essence, whatever that is. And so Fierce Grace is bringing back the balance, the polarity, the light and the dark, the
Mm-hmm.
masculine and the feminine. I see it like the infinity symbol and right in the center. How do we navigate that
Right.
space and come to our core? Because we all carry both energies.
Yes.
We all carry masculine and feminine. It's which is our core and how do we bring back to balance who we are authentically, right? We started this whole thing with the authentic conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we authentic? We're not authentic because we're afraid we won't be loved and accepted. And what we don't realize is that our authenticity is what is craved, right? Not only from people, but from us. It's like you talk about your higher self. Your higher self is like, man, you are divine perfection. What is this fear? What is this doubt? What is this? Why are you beating yourself up? Why are you looking in the mirror saying those things? All I see is divinity, right? But it's part
Mm-hmm.
of our human experience. So I get it. But
Mm-hmm.
let's help you get to the other side, get to the other truth. And Fierce Grace is a program to help you find yourself, to help you fall in love with your true essence so that
Right.
you're never, ever stingy with it.
Yes. Oh, I
Okay.
love it. To love yourself. Yes, that right there. When you said that, I just got chills because we all have to love ourselves.
Absolutely.
And when we do, that is what's going to make it easier. It's going to ease the pain because we are now accepting those parts of us that we were ashamed of, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to see. That love, it just eases everything. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
When you
telling
come back to that core essence, I'm always saying, don't be stingy with your essence, right? It's like, it's what we want. It's all God in the universe asks of you, is just be you unapologetically. And
you.
the
Right.
question is why aren't we? Why aren't we?
Wow.
Right. And the minute we start to feel it, we sabotage, we hold back, we pull back because we're afraid. What if I'm not accepted? And what you don't realize is that you won't be accepted until you accept it. Right?
Yes.
You won't command respect until you respect yourself. You won't command pure, unapologetic love until you give it to yourself.
That's right.
That's what this journey is. And remember, here's the beauty. And when you go through my course, it's the most beautiful thing, because that's why I love the name. The actual outcome of the entire journey in Fierce Grace is to come back to sovereignty.
Yes.
Right? Come back to our center, our beauty, our divinity, so much so that you fall in love so deeply with who you are
Mm-hmm.
that you see humanity through a
Yeah.
different set of lenses, because you are part of the whole. And if you're judging them, you're judging you.
Self, right.
Right. And so until you can clear that judgment, until you can clear all those things, and you fall in love with yourself so much, you fall in love with humanity. And you start to recognize that when people are cruel or unkind, that your heart expands and you think,
Mm-hmm.
wow, because their pain is so deep, right? That when they're unkind, they have to eat that first.
Yeah.
To be and behave unkind means there's an unkind essence going on inside your system.
Right.
Right. So I only see it as a trigger for me to like embrace their heart. Doesn't mean I want to stand on the other end of their bullseye,
Right.
but I will definitely send them love and compassion and move away. But I don't take it on.
Right.
I don't see it as like I'm the problem. I'm always for growth, and I'm always for looking at how I can be better, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't wear it like that my client did at 10 years old. You'll never be as
Right.
good as your sister. We take it on like it's our truth, and it's not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because that statement, and everyone has a statement that somebody has said to them that
Mhm.
they hold on to it, and they don't even know probably that they're holding on to it, and it's like shaping their life, it's shaping their belief, it's shaping how they react with people, how they
Completely.
see themselves. That's
And
very
sometimes
powerful.
it's not even what was said to them. Sometimes it's they witnessed it being said to someone else.
Else, right.
Right? Like,
Mhm.
and that is even harder to acknowledge or recognize, right? It's just like, I didn't know that that affected me that way, because you didn't know. It's an unconscious conditioning that
Right.
happens at the moment of the experience. And so
Right.
that's what we're here to unravel. Let's get to the truth. Let's get to the heart of the matter and help you be your limitless self.
That's right. Wow. Well, Jessie, let me tell you, you are such a beautiful presence, and I am so happy that you came to the Treasure Is You podcast. And I would like to just say, if you have any last words, because we are going to round up the podcast, I have on the screen your website and I think your call to action. And yeah, you can say whatever you want, any of your platforms, or and let the people know where they can reach you if they want to start Fierce Grace program. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. The website that is listed there is a great one for the Fierce Grace program. If there's other ways that you'd like to work with me, whether it's one-on-one coaching, leadership, I also have a mastermind for women. Go to iamfiercegrace.com. And on there, you'll have options to choose which way you'd like to connect with me. No matter what, jump on a call. I'm happy to offer a free consultation just to see where you're at. No matter what, you're going to get clarity. No matter what, you're going to see what it is that might be limiting you. And if I can help, I absolutely will. And if not, then I'll guide you in a place that will help you. But I'm happy to support you. I also have a 10-step guide to freedom. It's a free ebook that I can offer your audience. You can put in the show notes after this podcast. And that's just a way to help you, no matter what your situation is right now, no matter what you're going through. It may seem bleak. It may seem like there's no way out. It's like, that's great, Jessie, but you know what? That doesn't work for me. I'm this. You don't understand my situation. I have no way, right? Trust me when I tell you, in this 10-step, guys, there is something you can do. Okay? There's something you can do right now. Okay?
Right.
So please do take it. And if you'd like to chat with me, I'm happy to do so.
Yes. Okay. Wow. Well, thank you again. I mean, you gave so much information, and I'm just happy that you came to the Treasure Is You podcast. So, as I always say to my listeners towards the end of the podcast, to remember to stay in the present moment and to have grace for yourself, and know that you have the choice to make these decisions in your life. You do not have to stay in an abusive relationship. You have the choice to walk in another direction. You have the choice to receive help. You have the choice. Just know that you have the choice. There are so many people out here. I have one right here on my show, Jessie, that is a wealth of information, and she can help you. And if you want to make that first step, we always have the choice. Remember that, dear ones. And also remember that the treasure is you. So take care and namaste.
Thank you so much.